We are here at CPAC 2025, and I'm speaking now with Jason Dudash, the West Coast Director from the Freedom Foundation. Jason, tell us about the Freedom Foundation and the work that you do.
So it's very easy to remember because we only do one thing, and that's fight government unions. Government unions are the number one funders of all the radical leftist politicians and policy groups in the country. Thankfully, in 2018, a landmark Supreme Court case called Janus v. AFSCME declared the idea that I can take money directly out of your paycheck and use it to fund political causes that you don't agree with is actually a direct violation of your First Amendment rights. When that happened, that was a really big deal because it meant all the public employees no longer were required to pay dues as a condition of their employment. But nothing really happened because your average public employee isn't sat on the edge of their seat for every Supreme Court case, especially when it relates to something as seemingly innocuous as labor law. So we figured out we actually have to go out and tell these people what their rights are and what the union's doing with their money. And we do that through several ways. You can essentially think of it as a full-scale political campaign that lasts every day, every year, where we have canvassers that speak to employees at their homes and offices. We do mail, texting, billboards, everything you can think of to get our message in front of these folks and help them leave.
That's great. Thank you for the work that you do. It sounds daunting on the one hand, given the large number of, I imagine, federal, state, and local public employees. What are some of the successes that you've had or experiences that when people find out that they have this option?
Well, everybody is not happy, essentially.
Okay.
There's very little argument for your average public employee to belong to a government union anymore. And I think in the pre-Janus environment, they got so comfortable with just automatically getting money without having to earn it. And now they don't know how. And we'll use the NEA as an example, our country's largest teachers union. Last year, they had a budget of $386 million. The NEA themselves state their number one priority is representing teachers. However, only 7% of that budget was spent on anything remotely connected to representation. Over 50% of their budget was spent on political gifts and grants to both politicians and policy groups. Now, teachers in this country have a lot of real issues in their classrooms. Could you imagine if you had an ally that was in your corner who said, I've got your back, my only job is to fight for what you need, and I've got $386 million in my pocket. You could probably solve a lot of those problems, but none of them are getting solved because that's just simply not the union's priority anymore.
And what happens when you talk to teachers and you tell them some of those figures about how their money is being spent? I would imagine, some might be ideologically aligned and okay with it, but others are scratching their head as to what's really going on.
Yeah, they're shocked because the teachers union specifically relies so much on fear and intimidation and misinformation to keep their members in. Their biggest lie is that they don't spend any dues money on politics. All you have to do is look at their 990. It's in the tax record, but they just flat out lie to their members. And I think the percentage of ideological members is maybe slightly higher in the teacher population, but generally your public employees are about the same as the general public, where you've got about a third Republican, a third Democrat, and a third independent. And these aren't particularly political people. And so our message, the most successful message to get people to opt out is strictly a financial one. For us, the horrible economy that President Biden gave us was actually the greatest gift in getting our largest year of opt-outs ever. Because you can go to a teacher and say, hey, do you know that you could save $1,500 a year right back in your pocket? Nothing about your job changes. Your contract applies to you exactly the same. You lose nothing. You just get to keep more of your own money that you already earned. That's a pretty compelling point.
And when we're talking about these issues, let's focus on teachers again for just a moment. What is it that they need to know? If we have a teacher watching us now, like how do they go about this process? Are the dues automatically, or do you have to make a request that they stop taking them out?
There's, not to get too much into the weeds, the process should be very simple. You can go to optouttoday.com. That's our website. Click on your state, click on your union, fill out a form, and send it into the union.
Okay.
In most, let's say, red states, you'll have no problem. In our blue states, unions have done everything they can under the sun to try to circumvent the Janus decision. one of the many issues we run into is what we've called opt-out windows, where we say, hey, yes, the Supreme Court said this is your constitutional right, you can leave. However, we're only going to give you access to your constitutional right 2 weeks out of the entire year. And for most teachers, that happens to be in the month of September, which is, just conveniently one of the busiest times of the year for teachers. Several of our cases right now revolve around forgery. In public employees who intentionally never signed up for union membership began seeing dues deducted out of their pay. And when requested a membership card, one of the cases I'm thinking of in Oregon, not only was her personal information wrong, but her signature was not even close. And just the West Coast, my apologies to all of us that live there, the absurdity of the Ninth Circus Court of America that we are now appealing to the United States Supreme Court to try to get them to say, no, you cannot forge someone's signature to steal people's money.
Seems like common sense.
It's absurd. But the unions will lie, steat, and shield, do everything they can to keep people in because, again, teachers are nothing more than ATMs to the unions. They don't care about you. They don't care about respecting your rights. They don't care about providing a safe and effective job environment for you to thrive and grow, and they certainly care the least about our students, but they want your money.
Have unions tried to exact retribution on those who do opt out?
In some instances, that of course is illegal.
Of course it is, yes.
Of course, but as we just discussed, they are not afraid to break the law. And that's another part of what we do. We have 12 on-staff attorneys that represent public employees if they ever do face any kind of retaliation or retribution. And they sue government unions every day, and it's a very fun job to have.
Okay. What are some court cases that you're closely following in this space right now?
Well, one of ours right now is out of California, out of Los Angeles, and we've playfully named it JUTLA, teachers with the United Teachers of Los Angeles, UTLA, who are Jewish, who for the last almost 2 years now have watched in horror as their union promotes violent anti-Semitism. And all of these teachers have opted out of a union, but in most blue states, all of the West Coast, unions have what's called exclusive representation, where a union does not represent you as an individual, but it represents the entire bargaining unit. Everybody that works for UTLA is represented by that union. And so even though they're no longer giving them their money, they're still forced to be represented by a union that hates them, that thinks they have no right to exist. And that is going to be likely going to the United States Supreme Court. And exclusive representation, I think, is the next and most important domino to fall in this fight.
Okay. Jason, before I let you go, can you once again go over the website where our audience can go to opt out?
Yeah, public employees can go to optouttoday.com. Anybody who wants to learn more about the Freedom Foundation and support us, we're of course a 501c3 nonprofit. All your donations are tax deductible and non-disclosable. Can go to freedomfoundation.com.
Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate the work you're doing, and hopefully our audience will take you up on that and take that important step and educate themselves about this significant change, as you pointed out, from the Janus decision.
Yep. Thanks so much.
Thanks.